Hey there, welcome back to the At Home Diet YouTube channel. As always, my name is Joey and today we're in the kitchen making something fantastic. We've all seen the iconic shape of the Bundt pan, but I never really know what to put in one. So today we're going to make a buttery rich pound cake in our Bundt pan. So sit back, hit that subscribe button, and let's dive right in. Today on the counter we have a really simple list of ingredients, and we're going to start with 24 tablespoons or 340 grams of butter, 1.5 cups of sugar, 6 eggs, 2 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, 1.5 teaspoons of salt, 3 cups of AP flour. In this bowl I've mixed 2 1/2 teaspoons of vanilla extract with 3/4 teaspoon of almond extract, and over here we have 3/4 cup of milk. That's all we're going to need to get going with the cake itself. We're going to go ahead and preheat our oven to 350 degrees. The first thing we're going to do is take the sugar and add it into the butter. The butter is softened all the way to room temperature. Now we're going to beat it together with an electric mixer on medium until it's fluffy and smooth. This may take a little while.
5 minutes later.
Now that our butter and sugar has been whipped together for a few minutes, it's getting nice and fluffy. I'm going to take the salt and the baking powder, add those in, and I'm going to sift them just to make sure that any of the little clumps get broken up, because we want to make sure the cake is leavened nice and even. Now we're going to mix this just to incorporate these things. Now I'm going to slowly add in the first 3 of the 6 eggs total while the mixer's running. We want to make sure they fully incorporate in between. Here's where the recipe gets a little tricky. I'm going to take my flour and I'm going to add 2 tablespoons out of the pre-measured flour. Now I'm going to beat this until fully incorporated and then add 1 additional egg. Now I'm going to repeat this process by adding 2 additional tablespoons of flour in between adding the 2 remaining eggs. Now we're going to take the milk and the extracts and we're going to mix them together. And we're going to keep this close by. Now we're going to repeat the back and forth adding process by adding about 1/3 of the remaining flour. I'm going to go ahead and mix this in just to incorporate it. Now I'm going to go ahead and add in half of the milk. You don't have to measure these out whenever you're adding these additions. Just give it a pretty close eyeball. And now I'm just going to mix this to incorporate as well. And now, another 1/3 of the flour. And now the other half of the milk. And you guessed it, now the last addition is the rest of the flour.
Moments later.
Now we return with the iconic Bundt pan, and as you can see, this one has been oiled very heavily all over the entire inner surface. I recommend using a little bit more oil than you need because you definitely don't want your cake to stick to one of these pans. Now I'm just going to transfer this as evenly as possible into the pan. I like to take my spatula and just give it like a quick walk around the pan just to smooth it out and make sure that it's at least close to even. This helps get rid of all the high points and the low points. That's going to help our cake bake evenly and look better whenever it comes out of the oven. And we're ready to go into the oven. So I'm going to put it into the preheated oven at 350 degrees and come back and check on it in about 45 minutes.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
If you're using a dark pan, it may start to get a little bit darker on the edges faster than you're hoping. So if you are using a dark pan, start checking your cake around 40 minutes and go ahead and put aluminum foil over it if it's getting too dark in a tent shape. That way it can start to bake more evenly.
A few moments later.
So it's been 15 additional minutes and we're gonna go ahead and check the cake. I'm gonna do the toothpick method just to see if one comes out clean. And I don't know if you can tell on camera or not, but it's not quite clean. So I'm gonna give it another 10 minutes or so covered in the oven.
Moments later.
So now we're gonna go ahead and check the cake again. And the toothpick is coming out pretty much clean. So we're gonna go ahead and call this done. Typically you would flip your cake out onto a cooling rack. But I don't really have a cooling rack, so I'm going to flip mine directly onto a plate. Now I'm going to let the cake sit here for about 10 minutes and let the cake release from the pan. Meanwhile, we're going to make the glaze. To make the glaze, we're going to go ahead and put 1/8 a teaspoon of salt, 1/3 a cup of granulated sugar, and 5 teaspoons of water into a pan. And we're going to turn this on extremely low heat just until it's dissolved.
One eternity later.
So now the sugar and salt have dissolved into the water, making our glaze. And the next thing we're going to do is just add 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract right into the mixture. Once we swirl this in, the glaze is completely finished. Now we're going to try to remove the cake pan from the cake itself. If it starts to fight and stick, just be patient and give it an extra moment. So as you can see here, our cake came out quite well. There is one place here that it did stick a little bit, but that's all right, not a big deal. I'm gonna take a pastry brush and take the glaze and just brush it over the cake. This is gonna seal it kind of like an icing traditionally would, and it's gonna give it just a little bit of extra sweetness right on the outside. Again, just like an icing would.
1 minute, 37 seconds later.
Alright, so as you can see, here is our bundt cake. It turned out quite well, nice even golden brown texture all over, and it's nice and sticky sweet. Not too sweet, but very subtle, very nice. So it's time to enjoy. Alright, well that wraps us up on how to make a buttery rich pound cake in a bundt pan. Comment below and let me know how yours turns out. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, be sure to subscribe and share it with your friends. Have a great day.